Hey, this is Brian, and I'm here to open up a discussion on Tanks for the Memories, the 5th episode of MLP's 5th season. So what did I think of this one? Well, though it's by no means a poor or flawed episode, it's not as interesting as the rest this season has had to offer. But when even the relatively weakest entry of the season has some nice talking points and is overall a very sweet story, you can't really go wrong. What can I say? It's a solid set of episodes so far. So yeah, it's been a while since we last saw Cloudsdale, but yeah, apparently it just kind of moves around across Equestria. That's intimidating.
That wasn't flying, that was falling with style.
What'd she do?
You know, it's just a house.
Go.
Everything I ever did, I did for her. Now she's gone. But I'm still here.
The past can hurt, but the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it. Your future is whatever you make it. Finally, we have them all.
We also get a call back to the running of the leaves from Fall Weather Friends. This helps show consistency in the world building, which is always a good thing. Rainbow Dash mentions this is her first winter with Tank, which confirms again the show so far has basically been set over around 1.5 years, like the celebration in the Season 4 premiere being the same as the Season 1 premiere. A lot sure has happened. So we got more of Rainbow Dash not being able to understand why others don't love the same things that she does. We saw this just 2 episodes ago actually in Castle Sweet Castle, when she was bringing Twilight all of this Wonderbolts memorabilia since she doesn't quite get that others have different viewpoints on what to enjoy. Like if I'm talking about Toy Story and I mention Andy and someone says, well, who's Andy? I'm gonna be like, what? How could you possibly not know? So I see where this is coming from. I've always enjoyed the concept that Rainbow's pet is the antithesis of her, this slow-moving, silent turtle, since it does show that she has the capacity to tolerate people who are very different from her. It's a representation of how her relationships with the rest of the cast can work, despite her being on her own plane and pretty egocentric at times. Although, this is an aspect of her that we've seen before, so going into this episode I had to wonder if the crew was kinda just playing it safe and simply recalling something that already worked. Here, though, they do actually use the embodiment of how Rainbow gets along with her friends to turn her against them, insisting that Tank doesn't need to hibernate, or some other word, I shouldn't use that one, kinda sets Rainbow off. When she tries to mess around in the Cloud Factory, I can see a lot of people thinking she's totally irredeemable. After all, she's getting rid of a season for everyone just to hang out with her turtle more. But let's remember the fact that all the emotions are being clearly exaggerated here, if you couldn't figure that out from the over-the-top crying scene that goes on for quite the while. And you can't exactly compare this to how the situation would play out in real life, especially since this is not really a grounded episode. The fact that Rainbow's actions stem from good intentions, I think, goes a long way here. I'll be honest though, the emotion of the episode may have hit a little harder, and the lengths to which Rainbow went to protect Tank would have made a little more sense if the stakes were raised. What if they found a way to imply she thought Tank was gonna die? It would have been too upsetting for the show to actually kill off a pet, but they wouldn't have had to actually kill him off. You could have kept the lesson of learning to let go too, just by having it be that Rainbow misunderstood, and all Tank ever needed to do was hibernate. Maybe Fluttershy's even trying to re-explain this, but Rainbow can't bear to directly acknowledge Tank's fate again. The initial conversation she would have with her could be one of those sitcom misunderstanding type deals where it's like,
I'm sorry, Rainbow. He's already starting to slow down. You can see it in his eyes. Tank isn't gonna make it through the winter like this. It's just a part of nature. I suggest you say your goodbyes and start looking for a nice spot in the ground for him to rest right about now. He won't be coming back anytime soon.
and at the end it would have been like, I thought Tank was gonna, and Fluttershy would have been like, what? No! And Rainbow would be like, what about all that stuff you said about him not coming back anytime soon? And she'd say,
Yeah, well, he won't be back until after winter. I'd say that's a decent while.
I guess it would have kind of been like when Fluttershy thought Celestia's Phoenix was gonna die, but this time she gets to be on the other side of the joke. If they got away with that story in Season 1, now that we have the fan base that we have, they could have easily done so here, except we would have had all the more reason to care for a well-established character, so directly connected to one of the main 6. It definitely would have been a more extreme episode, both in terms of the laughs and the emotions. Other than that, I guess all I really have to say about this episode are just a bunch of other random observations, since this one is pretty self-explanatory. We get another reference from Rainbow to Cider, and Daring Do, kind of like how we did in Castle Sweet Castle. I like the line, I'll just have to stop winter, because it reminds me a lot of It's About Time when Twilight says that she's just going to have to stop time. I really appreciated the Clear Skies bit. That was essentially a riff on Abbott and Costello's Who's on First routine, except playing off of sort of pony names that we've grown accustomed to in this show. One major thing. We've been getting a lot of songs this season. Even Bloom and Gloom had Applebloom and Applejack singing that little lullaby in it, so if you count that, we've had a song each episode, basically. This I'll Fly song has the coolest instrumental of the season yet, and, well, yeah, I'd say overall it's just the coolest, best song of the season yet. It's a rainbow solo, the first one ever. Ponies just bursting into song at random places at the drop of a hat. Who does that? Rainbow said that once? Well, apparently she's one of those ponies. It was driven by the emotion and goal of the character, which is why I think the song kind of ascends to being one of the better ones. Though this is a fairly simple story, and I can see that the song may have functioned as a kind of padding out of the length. After all, we don't gain any new information from the song. But hey, if it was padding, it's some highly enjoyable padding, and as often occurs, the most memorable part of the episode was the song. The padding probably wouldn't have been necessary if they had Rainbow trying to hide how much she cared about Tank to put on a cool facade, but we've already gotten plenty of that from episodes like Read It and Weep, or in Season 3 when she tried to hide her love of her turtle. But now we can see that Rainbow's character has progressed since then, so I'm glad we didn't have to go through any of that. But that line in the song when she says, "It's only the weather," isn't that her whole job? I'm just surprised that she can say that statement at all with any kind of genuineness. Winter Startup would have been a funny title for this episode to follow up after Winter Wrap Up. Who recorded Tank's Yawn? I have my doubts that it was the sound of a true turtle. It's very weird. It was very weird to see lockers in the MLP non-Equestria Girls universe. I was kind of taken aback. I guess that kind of brought me to understanding why everyone was so opposed to Equestria Girls in the first place, because just lockers in MLP, that's weird. I think this is the first time we've seen the lab uniforms since they were introduced back in Sonic Rainboom, so that was cool. This episode actually reminds me a bit of Double Rainboom, the fan-made episode, in that Rainbow makes this poor, impactful, environment-altering decision, except this one shows her character growth. Every bad choice she makes in this episode derives from a desire to not part ways with someone she cares a lot about, which is why I personally think that she was still likable. The muffled classic movie scream was a nice touch. Comment below if you know which one that was. Pinky walking through the cloud wall was pretty funny. Fluttershy actually made her friend cry on purpose so she could let her emotion out. I guess in a way that makes sense. I mean, how often does Fluttershy herself cry as a therapeutic sort of action? But it's still rather shocking to see on display here. Wow, they're like, go Fluttershy. Also, we learn that Applejack cries on the inside. Isn't that nice? One thing that's not directly about the episode, rather the commercials that played during it, but it's weird that they were advertising next week's episode as if it were the cutie map again. I remember seeing that exact same ad a month ago. Do they just keep playing it each week? I know the cutie mark theme is going to be carrying on, but it was an ad for that exact episode, so it seems like some sort of mistake. I don't know. But anyway, all in all, fairly standard episode that we have here. The castle makes an appearance and Rainbow didn't get Tank until Season 2, and also we have Rainbow's development, but this episode basically would have felt right at home in Season 1. Really, there's nothing much that stands out about this one other than that song. But maybe you disagree with me. Do you love the relationship between Rainbow Dash and Tank? It is very sweet. I'm sure it also helps if you have a current relationship with a pet. I haven't had one since I lost my goldfish of 3 years, R.I.P. Maybe you thought this was one of Dash's most sympathetic portrayals throughout the series, or maybe you thought she was a total jerk who sabotaged the weather system for no good reason. Comment, let me know, and thanks for watching.